Nice one. So we're back with another episode of Seen It All, and I'm gassed to be here today with Germane Marvel. He's an MC, spoken word poet, musician, part of the Orii Jam and Steamdown, and yeah, super gassed to have you here today, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. So yeah, how you been at the moment, man? What you been saying?
So I just got back from Jamaica on a little family business trip. Not too much vacating, but it was good to enjoy the climate. And last night was Steamdown, so we did what we do.
Hey, nice man, good stuff. So when I start these interviews, I like to kind of take it back to the start really and just see where people's journey started. So I just wanted to firstly ask, like, how did your journey as an MC, as an artist, as a musician kind of start? And what were the kind of the first things that you kind of started venturing into when your journey started, basically?
I mean, yeah, I guess I just come back from where my journey started in Jamaica. I do think a lot of music, including hip hop, a lot of hip hop influences, the foundations of hip hop come from Jamaica, in my opinion. I'm
Mm,
biased. Um,
sure.
but for me, I guess the first hip hop track I can remember hearing was a track of Fuji's album way back
Nice.
whenever that was. I was in the hairdressers. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, and I just knew there was something different about it. Um, yeah, and I started writing rhymes with about, I don't know, between like 13, 14, 15, somewhere around that time.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, and I've on and off ever since, from doing things with my mates to not really doing it at all, to doing jams, to
Nice, man.
like doing what we do now today. So yeah, it's been a long journey.
Amazing. Sick. And then when did you start venturing into like the instruments that you play and like the spoken word poetry and stuff as well? Like was that at a later point or had you been doing that from the start too?
So I play keys, and I've been doing that. I was classically trained pianist from like uh, between like 5 and 10, I think. Then I moved, and I didn't carry it on, unfortunately. Um, and the spoken word, um, I've been doing that since I don't know, since Steamdown really. So it's going to be like 4 years really. I don't really like that word,
Nice.
but the term I don't know why, because I think I associate it with other things.
Mm.
That's just my personal preference. But yeah, I've been doing that for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah,
Amazing. Sick, man. That sounds cool. I was looking through some of the things that you've done for like Insta and just to see what your career was. And I saw that I checked out the song you did with the BAC Beatbox Academy thing.
yeah,
Tune was sick, man. Can you tell me a bit about that experience and kind of how that was?
yeah. I mean, that was pretty crazy, pretty intense. It was a lot of fun. It did a lot better than we like. I thought it was gonna. Basically, they had the show Frankenstein because Battersea Art Centre is a theatre, so they had this theatre production Frankenstein, a beatbox musical they were doing. I was involved with Beatbox Academy. Um, I'd actually previously auditioned for part of the touring group, but because I
Sick.
was living in Gloucester at the time, they didn't have the funds to like take care of the travel and everything expenses that was going to incur. So, but yeah, I think it was about a month before opening night of the show. They needed someone to come in and fill a role quickly, and
Sick.
yeah, so I did that. Wrote some bars. I mean,
Nice.
put a show together, and yeah, it got 5 stars. It was pretty crazy.
Hey,
Yeah, it was
amazing.
like all up in the Guardian and everything, which was pretty mind blowing. It was like a nice confirmation of like this is kind of part of the journey. So yeah.
100%. Oh, mate, that's sick. That's sick. And then like since then, obviously I know you're working with Steamdown, but are you still working on any solo like hip hop stuff, or any of your own projects at the moment? Or you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but is there
Yeah, I'm
anything
working on a few things. I'm doing some stuff with Steamdown Village, which ought to be coming out next year, hopefully.
nice?
Um, got a couple of tracks on that project, some features here and there. But to answer your question, yeah, I'm working on revamping old material from a long time ago that I
Nice.
made on like an iPad,
Oh
just
wow.
recorded it on stuff. And I'm also working on stuff that I'm making more recently as well. So I've got a couple projects in mind to come out next year. and yeah, a bigger project to come out at some point in the future. So watch this
Amazing.
space.
No, I look forward to that. Look forward to that. So like, I like to kind of go into like the scenes that people kind of grew up with and are a part of at the moment, man. So if you could just shed light on is have you always been in the London scene, or have you like been about in any different scenes
Um,
throughout time?
yeah, yeah. So I left London when I was about 10, and I moved to Gloucester.
Oh, okay.
I moved to a little village outside of Gloucester called Brockworth, where they do the cheese rolling. And Gloucester, yeah, Gloucester is pretty much only known for Fred West. Yeah, so between those two, that's tells what kind of is going on in Gloucester. There's not really much going on. There is like a scene, but it's not like a. It's not. There's this thing that they used to do. They called it Geo Street Legends. There
Okay.
was a couple of volumes of that. This guy called Malachi put together with another guy called Dread MC and another guy called Chris
Sick.
Ilston, I believe. Um, and yeah, so if you could ever get one of those copies of either of those volumes, you'll see some of what was going on back then. There's still
Nice.
things going on now, but unfortunately, I'm not there. But big up to people like Rizzo and also Grove. They're repping Gloucester hard, and as I said, Dread MC and Ryder Shafiq, who
Nice.
features on the Swindle album a couple of years back. So yeah, apart from that, yeah, the London scenes. Well, yes, what I know about at the moment. Because I
Mm.
just like kind of found myself in this thing, um, which I didn't expect myself to. And yeah, it's a beautiful, vibrant community. It's several communities all kind of interlocking, making a web, and yeah, yeah, it's magic.
Amazing. Could you tell me, because I kind of grew up like I had a couple of years kind of like outskirts, like near Watford type area. So I dip into like certain nights, but I've never really been like immersed in the London scene. So for someone that's kind of new to it and about to come and explore it, what would you say are some of the nights and venues and kind of spaces that you think that you'd recommend for people to check out maybe, or you think are important parts of the scene for you and other people?
For me, some of the spaces I can talk about are like TRC, um, Bustamantis, Matchstick Pie House is a great community venue, Colour Factory, um, but then also places like Hootenanny and the Ephra as well have a great jazz night on Thursdays. Um, you got like Monday nights in Brixton. We've got a jam. Can't remember the name of it now. It slipped my mind, but I'm gonna remember it later. Then we've got Jelly's Jams as well, by Jelly Cleaver, great guitarist. We've got Peng Fem Jams, which is like for all femmes and non-binary people can go and have a space at the forefront of that. Um, yeah, we've got Words, which is like more focused on words and music rather than the Karma Collective. Then we've got so many things, and there's like little things that pop up every now and then. Like you got Scrapbook Mixtape, they do like little pop up jams every now and again. There might be something going on down at the rooms in Hither Green. Yeah, so there's just so many things. And of course you got like Orii Jam, which is like
Yes.
it's a large jam that goes on in in Colour Factory in Hackney Wick. Then you got Steamdown that happens in Matchstick Pie House, which is more of like a live improvised performance as opposed
Nice.
to a jam. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, but then
Um,
apart from that, you got a lot more as well. There's a lot more going on in the city.
Man, it is mad how much is going in London, man. Honestly, it's such an amazing scene. But yeah, on the note of Ori, so yeah, as I mentioned before, like Ori was my first introduction to you and what some of the other guys are doing and Steamdown and stuff. And honestly, man, I was blown away. Like I, you know, because I'm based in Leeds at the moment, and a lot of my friends had been mentioned talking about Ori and saying about when they're going down. So I went down to check it, and it was just yeah, a real special thing, man, like a real special thing. So I just wanted to ask you, how did Ori start? Like, how did it come about, and like how has the growth and development of Ori been since it started, kind of thing.
So I'm gonna do a very non-linear thing, and the starts of Ori began a long time ago, like with Tomorrow's Warriors, for example. So you had Jazz Warriors, a band in UK, and they created Tomorrow's Warriors to create like a large, like to teach young kids how to play jazz music. and from that you've had a lot of talented young jazz musicians coming up, and a lot of people who have been putting on nights and stuff for years in this city, without space, things like Passing Clouds, um, and Steez as well. And then it's given rise to like festivals as well, have grown out of this, you know. Orii Jam began with Fred Humain Saleh, who's known as New Graphique. Um, and yeah, he came to London from France. He had already had a thriving music career over there. He came over here. He saw Steamdown, and yeah, he felt like, you know, something like that could be done somewhere else in another venue, in a different way, with a slight twist on it. Just like Steamdown is born from something else, and do a slight twist on that, you know. And there are other names I could mention as well, which are born from Steamdown. Some I've already mentioned. Imaginary Millions, to big up to them, that crew as well. Fred was working at Colour Factory at the time, doing bits for Colour Factory. And like Buster Mante's Colour Factory is a black-owned business, and he saw the need for the space, saw the need for what Fred vision was of what he wanted. So he kind of offered the space and said, we'll work stuff out later, which is like really what you need in London. And yeah, because it's very hard to find spaces, good spaces in London, which have a good balance. Yeah, and from there, I guess it just took off. We contacted a couple of people,
Amazing.
including myself, and yeah.
That's sick, man. Nah, amazing stuff. And I guess like, you know, I've seen around the country, there are other little things that kind of happen in terms of like jams, like certain things have happened in Leeds and certain other cities like Sheffield. But I feel like Ori's been such a staple. And I just wondered, like, have you guys considered maybe taking Ori to other cities in the future? Or do you think it's something that just is good to kind of keep in London for now, do you think? I know it's a bit of a random one, but just
No,
kind of
no,
thought
no.
about it.
It's a good question. Whenever, because we do get a lot of people coming from all over the world to these jams, and you
Mm,
know, they're like they come and tell us that they're leaving the next day, and you know, and they love this energy. And I always say to them to bring it with them, and to start something, to just to keep an eye out, even if they don't have the capacity right then and there, just to keep an eye out and just encourage people to start something and bring some of the flavor, because yeah, while it would be great for us to, and I like, it would be good to expand this kind of culture, this kind of co-creative culture, internationally. It's about capacity and resources, and so I feel like, yeah, the more we connect, then the more that comes, the more we get the abundance from that. So
definitely.
it's a
No, I
matter of
feel
time,
that.
hopefully.
Definitely, no, for sure. So yeah, next I'd love to talk about Steamdown a bit, mate. Just yeah, so firstly I listened to Five Fruits recently, amazing project as well. Was checking out some of the live sessions that you did on YouTube too. And yeah, man, I'm hoping to catch one of your shows soon, man. It'll be great. But yeah, I just wanted to chat about like how did Steamdown come about? How did that all start? And tell me a bit about your journey with them as well.
Yeah. So Steamdown, I kind of mentioned a little bit already.
Yeah.
Filling some gaps. So Steamdown was formed by Ananse about 5 years ago now, um, with the intention of creating joyful music, co-creating joyful music, that was very rooted in spirit and spirituality. Not too in your face, but you know, just, and creating a culture of listening to music as well, which was really important. So we have the, if you want to talk, go outside, rule that we apply very lovingly but thoroughly in Steam Down and ST Weeklies. Yeah, so, and as I say, Ananse was part of United Vibrations, which kind of sprang up out of Tomorrow's Warriors and Jazz Warriors, and so there's a whole like there's a whole undercurrent of like almost like ancestry, hereditary legacy that's been passed down to us, and so yeah, my journey to Steam Down, yeah, one of my friends told me about this jam, which was like pretty different, and yeah, it was something I was looking for anyway. And I arrived, and yeah, I could see what's going on, and yeah, to cut a long story short, yeah, we vibed, and
Uh,
I could understand what the vision was and stuff, and so yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, you guys did like I think it was nearly like a 30-day tour, right? This year with Steamdown.
Yeah.
How was the tour? Like, how was that experience? Because yeah, it's a
Yeah,
sick venue.
it's crazy. You know, you don't get always a lot to see a lot of the cities. There's a lot of us, so we don't all get to go to the every single gig. So we kind of we share the responsibility
Sure,
of like because it is yeah, they don't really say a lot, but touring is like it's not easy. Do you know what I mean? You're just like it's
for
just
sure.
traveling, traveling, traveling. You don't really get to do any tourism, so to say. There's not really much
Right.
relaxation. You have to
Okay.
carve it out, you know, hustling from here to there.
Mm,
And at the same time, they've just been able to. It's like a sacrifice that's worth it, and they just to be able to like I don't know, because people have so much joy and they're so thankful and so grateful, and you know they have such great experiences, and it's meaningful to be able to contribute a little bit of that to someone's life.
definitely, definitely. No, amazing. So I guess yeah, one thing I'd love to talk about, man, is the We Out Here show. That was honestly like something that I feel will be remembered for years. Because yeah, I mean, firstly, how did that feel for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about now? Steam Down collaborated with, in my opinion, the UK's greatest MC of all time, DWE, and did one of the most legendary performances I've ever seen. So yeah, firstly, can we go into how that came about and how he ended up linking with D Double? And then I want to know how that felt for you guys, man, because yeah, it was special. For sure.
Um, I am not 100% sure how it came about, but I know that Hennessy had something to do with it. Hennessy is a sponsor of We Out
Nice.
Here, and so yeah, um, I I want to say that Jazz Refresh might have been involved, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't quote me on that, maybe. But yeah, I'm not really sure how it happened, but I'm just very grateful. I'm not really sure how I'm here in the middle of these things either. I'm just very grateful for, yeah, the experiences and the opportunities. But yeah, it was crazy. He came down to SD Weekly. He came down to just
Nice.
before SD Weekly. When we all sound checking, and he came down and we all met him and yeah, and we did a couple tracks for him, and then you know he did a couple tracks for us, and we jammed with him. Yeah, it was wavy. It was wavy.
Sick.
Not gonna lie. And then the set itself was yeah, it had everything. It had power cuts. I mean, we kept it going. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, we had Charlotte dos Santos as well.
Mm,
Yeah, slaying on stage.
yeah,
And it
for
was one of
sure.
the times when yeah, there were quite a few of us as well. Because as I said, there's a big unit. Like there were more than half of us there that day,
Mm.
which was also very beautiful. Yeah.
Definitely. Oh mate, but yeah, I think the maddest thing for me was when you guys came back and you know, I thought it might just be one song, but you guys just just went in and it was truly just one of those moments. It was like, wow, like you know, I might never see something like this again. So like, I don't know, how did that feel being on stage for that and being a part of that? Because just seeing it was incredible. So
Yeah, I mean, just to talk about when we got off, like D Double was the first to be like, "Yo, we're not going back on. We do the encore, right?" Like he was the first one, and like,
nice.
I, yeah, because obviously that's the first time we're playing together. So that's the first time. So
Sure.
that set that was just like it was like a dream come true, and
Mm.
we were also like feeding each other out because it's always a conversation. There's always a little bit of improvisation in everything that we do, um,
Mm.
and so there's always a conversation. So we're feeding each other. By the time we came back for the encore, we were all just peeling and ready to go. And I think we all just opened up some extra levels right
Yeah,
there.
for
Yeah, it
sure.
was a lot
Like,
of fun.
yeah.
How's it feel? It's it's kind of unbelievable. As I said, I just have to be very grateful
Mm.
for everything. Yeah, and I want to make sure that um, I'm able to like pass the baton in some way, which is what I love so much about Orii Jam, for example, because there's just so
Mm.
many young people who are around and they're coming up, and you know we can just be there for each other and just like to share this culture of listening that we have from Steam Down, to share that energy of like we can help each other out in this,
Definitely.
yeah, and watch things spring up from that, and yeah, that's the beauty. So yeah, big up to
Definitely.
DWE.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. On the note of like passing on the baton and kind of like sharing wisdom, I'd love to chat to you about like any advice you've got for younger musicians for operating in the music industry, and yeah, from your experience, I mean, any like, yeah, any things you'd like to pass on about, being a musician creatively, and also just operating in this industry, and in this kind of, in this scene that we're in, I guess, in these times. I know it's a very big question, but I mean,
It's a big question. It's a serious question. It's a serious question because for like anyone who's like an artist, like kind of you have to do, even if you're not going to put anything out there, even if you're just doing it for yourself, even if you're not taking yourself seriously, yeah, like there's almost a calling to do that in order to like survive. For me, I don't make art for art's sake. I make art for survival's sake, and to because it's mad out there. It is mad wherever you are. London, like could say especially, but also not really. Like when I look to Jamaica, you know what I'm saying? So it's just mad out there, and I guess so. The first thing is like to remember why you do it. Just to remember what you're doing it for, who you're doing it for. Um, that will see you through a lot of stuff. Um, and yeah, when in doubt, follow your heart. I guess is the best advice I could give. Um, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And you can't do nothing on your own, so make sure you got a good team around you. That's like one of the number one rules. Make sure you have a good team around you. Build a community. Um, and something I would pass on is to find some way of managing conflict, because conflict is always going to come up, and you want to be able to, like a family, you don't want to be dysfunctional like a family, but what you
sure.
want to do is you want to be functional. You want to be able to take conflict and you want to move with it and build from it, and still find like the love and the connection um, underneath all, I think that's very important.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
none of these events are anything without a sense of community around them. So, yeah.
That's so true, man. No, thank you so much for sharing that
Oh
wisdom,
wait,
mate.
one more thing.
Yes,
Listening.
please.
If you're at a jam, you gotta listen. You gotta listen. If you're on stage, you gotta listen to
100%.
each other. You gotta listen and give space.
100%.
And yeah, that's it.
Definitely, definitely. No, mate, I agree with that so much. And definitely, I feel, especially in spaces where you're meeting new people and around different musicians, like Orii, for me, for example, I just saw it as such a big opportunity to learn and connect with new people. And it was amazing because met so many new people, and just seeing the way everyone operated, it was amazing. So I just kind of like, I was standing there for I think a good 45 minutes before I even like thought about getting on stage. I was like, cool, let me see how everyone's moving, how it kind of worked. And I was like, all right, let me hop up for a little bit. And it was great, man. So we talked a little bit about you might be putting on some workshops soon to help people with like with their was it like kind of futures and guidance and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Would you want to speak on that a little bit,
yeah,
or
sure. I
yeah,
done
definitely.
this. I used to do this for a little group called Food Mentality. We did it for people like Princess Trust and youth offending service as well, which was very rewarding stuff for everybody involved. Because I find, especially in this day and age, just thinking about the future as a young person, for me, especially when times got hard, the future would go, and I don't know, able to work on today and tomorrow, which is a good thing, but I also need to know where I'm going in it. Yeah, this one guy told me you got to be confident enough to know where you're going, but vulnerable enough to know the map is made by other people. And so, in order to do that, I need to know where I'm going. But it's just like having that, I'm daring to dream big and being willing to fail. All of that stuff. So
Definitely.
basically, they've got these little tools. Some that I borrowed from the agency, which is a thing at Battersea Art Centre. Um, and it's basically a compass to just get you to how to dream big, but also how to work with what you've got and to take a whole lot of like disparate things, what you've got, what you're good at, who you know, where you want to operate, and you put it all together in this way where you can really pinpoint down on really what it is you want to do and where. So you have a very specific goal, very big, but very specific goal. And then we decide as a group whether we're going to plan 50, 40, 30, 20 years in advance. And then we'll put that goal there. And then we'll work back from that. I'll just give the tools basically. All I do is I'm going to give the tools for people to work out how to make big dreams, but then how to bring those dreams into like, actually, what can I do today? What can I do tomorrow? What do I need to be doing in 5 years? Yeah, basically.
Oh,
That's
mate,
it.
that's amazing. That sounds really valuable, and yeah, thank you for doing something like that. I really appreciate that, because we definitely need more of that in the, I guess, in the musicians culture type things. You know what I mean? To keep everyone steady, because I know mental health is a real struggle, and especially as you know, most musicians I know, we work hard and we work tirelessly, and a lot of us are working jobs as well as, you know what I mean, as well as doing our crafts. So so that's amazing.
And when it gets done in a group, it allows the group to like really understand where everyone wants to go, and then you can see on how to build each other, and it
Definitely,
becomes something
yeah.
nice.
That's it. That's straight back to building the community and sharing and listening. Definitely. So yeah, super valuable stuff, man. That's kind of all the questions I've got. But I just want, if there's anything else you wanted to talk about, or anything you've got coming up that you'd like to plug, or anything just, yeah, you wanted to discuss before we call it.
And
Yeah, feel
no,
free.
man,
No,
all I got to say is thank you for this opportunity,
no
and
worries,
check
man.
out my Instagram, Germane Marvel. I do a couple other things as well, but you'll see. And yeah, to all the musicians out there, just keep doing what you're doing. I know this business is not easy, but it is worth it. It is worth it. So yeah,
Amazing.
carry on.
Ah, beautiful stuff. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, man. I'm going to be shouting you soon to get a little list of basically how we run it is that we do the interview and then I'll play an hour of music from the scene that you're in. So I'll be shouting you for a little list of people you'd like me to play on the show. But yeah, thank you so much for doing this. And I'll stop the interview now.